The reading module is considered as the toughest part of PTE, but we have a solution for this. If you face problems in solving reading, you can purchase our reading course, which includes essential grammar rules for each type of questions that may help to ace your score. Call us for more information on 95880-68207 or 63679498840. Thank you.
The Knowledge Challenge invites proposers to submit proposals for research activities aimed at improving our basic understanding of entrepreneurs, and the levers, tools and methods that can advance entrepreneurship in the United States. The Knowledge Challenge is open to proposers conducting research in universities and academic institutions, laboratories, companies, non-profit organizations, and as individuals. Collaborations between academic researchers and entrepreneurs, entrepreneurship support programs, and other entrepreneurial ecosystem builders are welcome. The Knowledge Challenge may grant up to $400,000 annually for project teams, up to $150,000 annually for individual researchers, including hiring contract or research assistants, and up to $30,000 annually for students, or student teams, or doctoral researchers.
Understanding Migration was conceived in response to numerous requests from educators and curriculum specialists concerning the presentation and discussion of issues related to human migration in the social studies classroom. What are the reasons that large groups of people have found themselves moving from place to place? What effects does this movement have? And most importantly, how can such a fluid and nebulous concept be presented in a classroom in an easy-to-follow manner with clear lesson objectives and outcomes? Regional case studies were chosen to address these and other essential questions. Where possible, we have used primary source documents to present the information in each case study.
Decision-making is central to the management of an enterprise. The manager of a profit-making business has to decide on the manner of implementation of the objectives of the business, at least one of which may well relate to allocating resources so as to maximize profit. A non-profit-making enterprise, such as Department of Central or Local Government, will be making decisions on resource allocation so as to be economical, efficient and effective in its use of finance. All organizations, whether in the private sector or the public sector, take decisions which have financial implications. Decisions will be about resources, which may be people, products, services or long-term and short-term investment. Decisions will also be about activities, including whether and how to undertake them. Most decisions will at some stage involve consideration of financial matters, particularly cost.
If you are carrying out building work personally, it is very important that you understand how the building regulatory system and material applies to your situation, as you are responsible for making sure that the work complies with the building regulations. If you are employing a builder, the responsibility will usually be theirs, but you should confirm this at the very beginning. You should also bear in mind that if you are the owner of the building, it is ultimately you who may be served with an enforcement notice if the work does not comply with the regulations. Some kinds of building projects are exempt from the regulations. However, generally, if you are planning to carry out building work as defined in Regulation 3 of the Building Regulations, then it must comply with the building regulations.
There was also a broken thermometer in the cupboard, and he assumed that the vapor from the mercury had caused it. This meant it was now possible to reduce the time the plate was exposed from 8 hours to 30 minutes. This produced an image. The next step was to fix it, which he managed to do in 1837. He called this new process the daguerreotype, then advertised and looked for sponsors, but initially very few people were interested. The discovery was made public on January 1839, but details of the process were not given until August the same year, the French government in the meantime having bought the rights to the process. The probability is hard to calculate primarily because of the possibility of what are called common cause accidents, where the loss of off-site power and of on-site power are caused by the same thing. In this case, the earthquake and tsunami. We're hoping that all of the barriers to release of radioactivity will not fail. So far, the first barrier, which is the fuel cladding, has apparently failed, because they are detecting cesium. We now have to hope that the subsequent layers, including primarily the containment building, will succeed in preventing release of major amounts of radioactivity. When a mosquito takes some blood from a human, she may also ingest plasmodium. The parasite ends up in the insect's gut. The mosquito immune system jumps into action as the parasites try to push through the gut wall. Most parasites do get killed, but some manage to survive that gut migration. Then they replicate and move to the salivary glands, ready to infect the next person the mosquito bites. Researchers are tinkering with specific mosquito genes to see how they affect the development of the parasite. Their goal is to develop a genetically modified mosquito with a strengthened immune system that kills all the parasites. People have been buzzing this week about a study from Johns Hopkins University on mosquitoes, genetically engineered to be resistant to malaria. The idea is to introduce the modified insects into an area affected by the disease and have them completely replace the native population. If the mosquitoes can't get infected, the logic goes, then the people they bite won't either. But to make that scheme work, transgenic mosquitoes need to outcompete the locals. So scientists at Johns Hopkins tested their ability to do this, by allowing equal numbers of resistant and non-resistant mosquitoes to feed on the blood of malaria-infected mice. After 9 generations, the transgenic mosquitoes made up 70% of the population.
In every recession, marketers find themselves in poorly charted waters, because no two downturns are exactly alike. However, in studying the marketing successes and failures of dozens of companies as they've navigated recessions from the 1970s onward, we've identified patterns in consumers' behavior and firm strategies that either propel or undermine performance. Companies need to understand the evolving consumption patterns and fine-tune their strategies accordingly. During recessions, of course, consumers set stricter priorities and reduce their spending. As sales start to drop, businesses typically cut costs, reduce prices, and postpone new investments. Marketing expenditures in areas from communications to research are often slashed across the board, but such indiscriminate cost-cutting is a mistake.
Secure financial messaging services provider, SWIFT, said today that it has expanded the GPI tracker system to help banks track their global transactions at all times, keeping full vigil on the payments activity. Extension of its GPI tracker will cover all payment instructions sent across the network, SWIFT said in a statement. The introduction of the unique end-to-end transaction reference in all payment instructions will be effected through the mandatory annual standards update in November 2018. SWIFT GPI improves customer experience by increasing speed, transparency, and automatically provides status updates to all GPI banks involved in any GPI payment chain, it said.